like sucking, but I ain't gay.
Legit bad podcast.
Fuck those honkies.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
He really knows how to suck a wiener.
Hey there, welcome back to Legit Fuck.
This is black.
Black. No, we'll keep it in there. I'm Joe, Jen's here, and Ben is here. And our guest tonight is a returning, I don't know how many times guest, Brandon Thomas. I almost said Brandon Williams. I got you guys mixed up last time. From Expanding Reality. And before we get going, I wanted to say thank you to purepetwellness.com. Hey, look at that. A first official sponsor. It's CBD if that's your thing, and I'm not going to do a big old ad read. Just go there, check it out, and code LEGIT at checkout for 20% off.
It's super affordable and it's super high quality. That was his whole goal in starting the company. He basically saved one of his pets by developing this company and researching CBD rather than either the options of getting them fixed for $5,000 or putting them down.
Yeah, and he tells, I think he tells that story on the show we did with him. I believe it was one of the last shows we did, actually. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Brandon, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. What's new over at the Expanding Reality Homestead?
Oodles, and thank you for asking, but I need to talk to you about your sponsor. Actually, this is not a plug for them. This is actually real legit. We have this beautiful love of our life. His name is Kiva. He was a boomerang that we rescued about 10 or 11 years ago. Couldn't keep him at the time in the situation we had, gave him to mother-in-law. Mother-in-law had him, and then she was just over it. So we got him back like 2 years ago. So that's why we call him a boomerang, right? So we love this damn dog, and he's like 11, 12 years old, but he's like a husky mix, so he's larger. And right now he's on Galliprant, and he's on some other supplement for his joints and stuff because he had a really, really tough time. Like I was out of town and came back. He was... Anyway, so we need to talk to your sponsor about this because I bet you that CBD stuff would be better than the thing that I'm giving him. So I would love a connection to also additionally plug your sponsor here. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure that's something it could help with. His site is, I mean, it's very simple and easy to find all the stuff. And the coolest part is that you can take it too if you are a human. I've probably drank more of that bottle than the pets ever will.
Dude,
so
I love CBD shit. Sometimes because I'm a cannabis partaker, and so CBD for me has been like sort of the buffer between just not smoking at all and losing my shit completely because it is an integral part of my chemistry. Like there's some people who are like, oh, I can't whatever because of whatever, but you have a really great, I guess, relationship with like coffee or nicotine or something like that. But like people dial that in, so there's no ubiquity here anyhow, and we all know that. And so I've just got this relationship with Mary Jane cannabis. It's been awesome. And I really, my endocannabinoids are just locked into the, again, I got the recipe dialed in. So the CBD, I love these little damn things. I get these. And what's great about this is I'm in Texas, so it's not legal here for the real flower. But the CBD here is unregulated. And so it's actually like this crazy strains that you will pop a drug test on. And it's like crazy. People who come from other states where it is legal that don't have this caliber of CBD in their area because they don't need it. They come here and they're like, holy shit. Like some gummies I gave somebody that couldn't sleep, just CBD gummies.
Right.
And they were incredible, dude. So
That's
a game changer.
The biggest thing that we run into here is because it's regulated, but also legal. It's harder to find really dank shit.
I'll send you some.
Now because so much of it is being sent to depositories. Depositories? Is that right?
Dispensaries, perhaps?
Dispensaries. That's fuck.
Hang on. Let's dispensary as a dispensary is a depository for pot. So that's
okay.
All right.
So like, yeah, it's hard. I always have to get the 1-to-1s of CBD and THC, and it's still like they have just CBD gummies, but I took a couple of them one time. I think I took probably like 60 milligrams, and I didn't really affect me much. It didn't do a lot. It kind of took away the physical pain. But that insomnia bug, that whole can't sleep thing that pot really cured, it doesn't really touch that. So the two of them mixed work really well together for me. And like you said, everybody's different. The thing about that sponsor too is it's like it'll probably work better, like you said, than what your dog is having. But in the very least, it will do nothing. It's like there's you can't go wrong with it. It's just it may not have the desired effect. In which case, at least you tried.
I bet he'll
But
run
yeah.
around like a 2-year-old puppy, dude. You know what I mean? Maybe just a little hitch in his giddy up, because he opens up, dude. He murders things constantly. Like, okay, he murdered a fucking skunk the other day with his face, and so he comes in,
Oh,
smells like this for like 3 weeks. We love him and we adore
Oh,
him, and he sleeps in the house. We don't put him outside. No, the husky, and it's like 100 degrees. Anyway, so we did that. He's just has something out for the armadillos out here. He's killed 3 at least, and these things are the size of like big cats. I mean, they're
Right.
massive, and they have shells. Like they should
and they have armor.
what a fucking shit. Well, not according to Kiva, because he just says like they should have allocated that evolutionary resource to like speed or wings or some shit. Because that shell has proven for naught out here. He just murders them, dude.
That is crazy. What an
It's-
asshole, but good for him.
Yeah, he eats
Fuck those
turtles.
armadillos. I've never
know.
seen one in real life, but I imagine they're pests like possums are out here. So fuck them too.
Big. Like I don't have a problem with them. It's nature, it's whatever, and they're just usually passing through, and it'll be cool because I'll be out there like before sunrise or some, often in the morning, and I'll just be kind of looking around, and this armadillo would just go walk right by me, and I'm barefoot, just standing in the front yard. I'm just like, oh hey fella, or you'll hear it scratch, you can see it all dig up or whatever, and they're just passing through. It's really cool.
That's crazy. Yeah, if we ever get down there, I definitely want to see an
Win.
armadillo
Win, brother. Well, Kiva will bring you a selection of them. Yeah,
oh.
of
I want to see a
separate
live one
heads.
first, but
a
I'll.
live one. Yeah, let's manifest
It's-
that.
It's funny when you don't live in places like that, how much it kind of those little tiny things like that people, they grow up with. When I lived in Florida, I did not realize how many insects and fucking lizards, and I hate lizards so much. And I had to get used to just walking down the sidewalk with all of these lizards sunning themselves. And as you walk, they just go like this and cross, and then they go off in the grass. And after a while, I got used to it, but they were also different. But it was like snakes, things inside your house, massive fucking bugs, weird ass bugs. Like you never realize when you're used to your bugs, like all the other shit that's out there. Like I could never live in Australia.
And then I was gonna say, then try going somewhere actually crazy that has things that can kill you at every turn, which is what they say Australia is. I don't really believe that in the cities, but apparently if you go into the outback, you have like a good chance of dying if you just go out there.
Or there's a place in Indonesia, I think, one of those islands where they live, their houses are all on stilts because there's these massive lizards that walk around and will just eat people.
Awesome.
Okay, so fuck that. So I'm actually cool with
would you
lizards.
Move.
Fuck snakes though, all the
Yeah.
way, all day. Fuck snakes.
I used to be that way when we moved out here at first. Yeah, we'll be out here 8 years this August. So when we moved out here the first time, I'm a city kid. I'm coming out here to conquer this land, and I'm just a big dick, and I've got it all figured out, dude. I was shooting everything. I shot, and I'm not proud of it. What I'm saying here is that I killed a bunch of snakes. I killed a bunch of things that I didn't need to, and as a result of that, our second year out here overran with mice and rats and shit. And we have donkeys, goats, so we have a lot of feed. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of grain about, and so it was a fucking nightmare. And so what I did was educated myself on the difference between venomous and non-venomous snakes. And they are venomous, not poisonous, because they bite you and it gets in your bloodstream, not you eat it and die.
Right.
So learning the difference in like what to see, the eyes, the head shape, the coloring, all those things, and then the things indigenous to here. There's a snake out here called an indigo blue snake. And this thing, you could Google this bitch. It's bright blue, and they're huge. They're copperhead and rattlesnake killers. So they're actually protected by the state of Texas. They're massive, but they want fuck all to do with you, and they're incredibly cool. So you have those, but we have a bunch of rat snakes out here, and those were the things that I was killing at first. Non-venomous, no big deal, but they're fucking huge, dude. They're like, I don't know, the one that I was, Dave Zed spent like a week and some change out here, and when he was out here, there was one, and so I go, hey, you want to do some ranching shit? I just grab a pair of gloves, walk out there, and I don't grab gloves because like I'm scared of them. They stink like a mother. Like if you've ever known anybody who has a snake or something in their house, they like smell like death. You know what I'm talking
Ugh.
about? Especially wild snakes.
No.
Something about it. Anyway, so
I'm not aware of snake smell. That's crazy.
even when you touch them, like pick them up with gloves, like you still have it on you, and you just can't get away from it because it's like thrashing about. You'll get it on your shirt and shit. So anyway, what I'm saying is like even handling one fucking sucks, but I still pick them up and take them. Even with all the education, dude, I'm shaking as I'm doing it. I'm not a fan of this, okay? I'm not sitting here saying I'm some hard dick dude that's like, fuck yeah, and I pick it up and whip it around as I'm carrying it away. We do it gently, and I'm shaking the whole fucking time. And then Dave's holding the camera like way back, I'm like, can you see it? And he's like, I'm fine from over here, But again, it's just one of these things, and after education, we live in balance with it. And there are so many more things I see out here that I don't tell my wife about. like snakes, some stuff. And I'm just like, just don't tell her. You know, she didn't need to know it's running around out here, right? But for the most part, this is an awesome. Actually, it's the best way to fucking live. I'll never, ever, God willing, go back to the city, like ever. Just
Oh
even
yeah.
like that, like the challenges of just pulling snakes out of the coop and stuff like that. No big deal. I'm
Well,
grateful.
I don't have to say I'll never go back to the city because I've never really been in the city, but I've been to cities, and no, thank you.
That, man.
I'm good.
1 star. Yeah.
I'm in a big enough city for me as it is, and I don't want to be.
Yeah, it's technically a city, but it's really not. It's not the same as like Chicago or Boston or
No.
even a suburb of those cities. It's
Yeah.
much, much more rural. So,
And it's still too city for me.
but it's super ideal because so it's city enough where like there's a Walmart close enough, but there's also a huge green belt close to us and tons of walking trails and tons of lakes and rivers.
Well,
so
and once
it's
you get
really
right out
cool.
of the actual city part, it's all country, mountains, and shit. So we are kind of spoiled in that way. We're close enough to feel like we aren't in a big city. Like I don't feel like I'm in a big city at
To
all.
get out of a big city, though, is my point. To get out of there, it takes a long time. Cities are huge, and we do live in this tiny little city. So to get out is like a 10-minute drive.
Yeah.
It's pretty
My
sweet.
backyard.
Yeah. They're like, and
Well,
we're gone.
dude, what's been rattling your cage over at Expanding Reality? Anything interesting you've been looking into, or any interesting guests you've had?
Oh, fuck yes, and fuck yes, and fuck yes. So fascinating guests and stuff. Had the 200, which was awesome. That was fun. And again, Dave Zed was here, so we had several conversations together, which was awesome, dude. Just spending the time with the guy. He's fascinating. He laid on our floor on his little tum-tum with his laptop open and a notepad that's like thick as shit. He was just taking notes and doing math like the entire fucking time. He was here for 10 days. I saw him in and out of meetings and math, meetings, math. And then we would grill out and cook and stuff and hang out. And so we did a lot of chat and a lot of expanding of our own realities and talking about just the possibilities of things. And that was fun as shit. And then just sent me on this whole new gander at the simulation theory, or this idea that we're sort of in some sort of environment, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be a matrix and a sort of a technocratic sort
Video
of
game.
yeah, it doesn't need to be all that. But really, really diving into that concept. And then just freeing myself from some shit, dude. I recently came to a fat fucking epiphany yesterday, man. This is just full disclosure here, rough fucking couple of weeks, dude. It's just like, you know, sometimes it'll stack and then it gets stagnant. And then whenever that happens, I'll bog in and there's an older version of me that will present itself. Now, I'd say it used to present itself because this shit ended yesterday. I came to this awesome epiphany after years of knowing, being told and feeling rather, that I needed to integrate this part of me because it's a part of me and it's whole. And also taking from the ideas that you don't want to kill your ego or slay the dragon, as some people would have you believe, because then you're really just killing off a part of yourself and you really need to integrate these things fully. I kind of came to a point where I realized that there's a certain percentage of me after absolute years of patience and love and willingness to integrate in all of those things. And I just said, fuck it, that's enough. And there's like a percentage of me that can just fuck right off. And I'm honestly to this point, dude, and it freed me so goddamn much. It feels like this last, sort of like this last test, if you will. So, do you know who Pat Mahan is? I've had him on the show. He does,
The name
Mike
sounds
Back on Mike.
familiar.
He's brilliant. So we were talking earlier about this, and we were talking about this thing because there was this percentage of me that I was just like, it's this one little dude, and basically what he does, and I'm stubborn as shit anyway, and I know me, and what this version of me does is he sits down on the ground and pouts, and it's an Indian style, arms
Your inner
crossed.
2-year-old.
Fuck you. Yes, but it's like an older one. You know what I mean? So it's got some intelligence. It's got good arguments. It's got solid fucking points that are really hard to refute. And
Right? That makes it so much more inexcusable.
it makes me feel like my mom. And I know, God bless her, she had the toughest time because there's nothing that she was correct about. And it just wasn't, because I could pick it apart and obviously it was wrong, and it led to some interesting things. But what I will say is that fucking guy had his shot. And I just basically got to a point, and I was talking to Pat Mahan about this, to where I told him, I was like, dude, I, through tears said, all right, I'm done with you. Fuck off. I'm in this surrender thing. I'm reading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza right now. I'm almost through to the meditation parts of it. And as I'm reading through that, I got to the part of surrender. And he's talking about surrender isn't just like giving up. It's giving it over to a higher power that knows more than you, that can do better than you with it, and its mind works differently than you. That's what it is. So it's actually a surrender of admission. It says, look, here's my faults. Here's where I'm at. Here's the things that I feel stuck on. And that's this one motherfucker, you know, I've done my best. I've earned all the merit badges and then some with this bitch. And I'm just really ready for a higher version of me that sees it differently, that isn't restricted by the limitations I feel I am, and can see the blind spots in ways that I can't. Hey, have a go at it. It's like I don't know, I'll compare it to like doing a Rubik's Cube and then just being like, and then just handing it to somebody else. And then they just go, whoop, here you go. And it feels like this. And so it's this like freeing sort of last thing I feel for this little level up period. And I know you guys probably go through this. You go through these like swings and cycles and stuff. And then you get to these stagnation times. And in my mind, they're always indicators of level up. But there is an intensity to them that will increase past my like, I have a comfort zone, and then that always expands as well. But even in that, there's introspection points that I'll come to with that, because it's, like I said, usually the same goddamn thing. Reading in Joe Dispenza's book, I had a great, I don't know, I felt great about it because he's listing all these fucking things that you can be focused on while in meditation to release, because these are like common fucking, everybody's got this shit. I had like 2 on the bitch. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, we're doing pretty good, you know? As far as like envy and like being jealous and comparison and shit, I'm just, so much of that shit is absolutely gone. It's this last couple, right, to tick off. And when I was talking to Pat Mahan about this, I said again, you know, I feel like I've just like told that part to just fuck off. Like I just said, all right, we're taking the wheel regardless. Like you can, we're duct taping you and putting you in the back. You can learn over time that you'll be fine, but we're done fucking letting you sit on the ground and us all stand there and wait and kill momentum and wait for your ass to fucking get out of your little posture and your little pity potty and stand up. There's a version of my own ass that I'm talking to here. And so I just, you know, declared that 8% of me controlled 100% of the momentum. And so I was like, well, what the fuck is that about? And again, I was talking to Pat about this, and he goes, yes, there is this Rick and Morty episode, which I haven't seen, but I can't wait to see it. And it's where something happens at like an arcade and they go back. It's called something Roy. It's in like season 5 or 6, he said, and it's basically
Yeah, the video game. Yeah, it's fucking
Rick
great.
goes to the video game, right? And he has to get him all reassembled, right? It's like one of the best metaphors for what we feel may be one of the perceptions of what we're experiencing here, perhaps. And he said, you know, it got down to this 8% part. And I'd already told Pat all this. I have not seen this episode. It got down to that part, and he goes, that 8%, he goes, man, fuck that 8%. It's not even the best part of you. And I was thinking about this, and I'm like, yeah, fuck that part. You know, it's gotten me this far, yes, and I've given it the grace and the love and all of these things. But I'm also to a point where I feel I'm not being bamboozled by it to remain anchored to it, because I don't know why, man. You know, you get to this point where you're like, oh, I can't shed or strike any point of me or something like that. But really, there's parts of you just need to go the fuck off. And because again, with my stubborn ass, and I know that dude, because we danced for many years with this and it was a daily thing, then that's, you know, unstoppable force meets immovable object. And that's what it felt like. It killed everything.
It's like your own worst enemy type of thing. And
100%, dude.
I know what you're talking about. And a lot of people, I think, I mean, everybody actually has a problem with that when they realize that 8% of themselves that they just don't like. And they're like, go fuck yourself. Stop doing that. And they can do it pretty well, and then something comes up and that pops back up again, and then they beat themselves up about it because they're like, no, I got rid of that, it's back again. It's like, nope, don't beat yourself, just put it back away.
The problem is
you know?
where they start defining themselves as that part of themselves. Their whole self is then defined by that one part. So when you can separate that and say, no, I am also this super strong, amazing, beautiful, great person, but there is that part of me that I don't like. Also, I'm strong enough to tell that part of me to fuck off. That is super freeing.
That's it. And that's what Pat was saying. He goes, and you know what happened? The second you said that, all the versions of you were like, thank God, like finally the CEO of this motherfucker, which you are, said, let's go. You know, we've all done our job. Like all of us have fallen in line. All of us are in agreement with where we're going. We're all absolutely here. It's this one motherfucker that constantly slows us down, and fuck it. And so we all just said, absolutely not. Now, Pat made a good point to this because of the bad guy thing, right? We don't subscribe to a bad guy, which is an interesting concept. So with that, then he said, you know what just happened is that little kid, that demon, whatever that was sitting there, the second you decided that it was no longer in control and you were done with it, it stood up, clapped for you, and fucking left. And that's it. It's like the last clink in the puzzle. You know what I mean? It's this, got it.
And it's kind of like calling out the demons by name, where once you realize it's there and it notices that it's there, it's like, okay, I guess I'm done now.
I'm just gonna go fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll go fuck myself then.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go fuck myself. Exactly right. So that's honestly what's been going down, dude. It's been a lot of that. The publishing house is crushing. We're having so much fun. We signed another author this week, which has been great. And expanding's going awesome. We're gonna. It kind of hit a like a bottleneck with a lot of things, with the trip to Utah, within Phi Tribe stuff, within all kinds of, and it's all awesome shit. It's not like it was like, oh, my car broke down and then some shit sucked. It's like all amazing creative projects have just like bottlenecked the show just a bit. And so you're gonna see like 5 episodes come out in the next one a day. Actually, they'll just drop.
It happens, dude. None of us are really professionals, so it's hit or miss. How do you, so to kind of go back to what you were talking about though, because how do you like deal with everyday occurrences that everybody has to deal with, and you get a varying degree of response from these little inconveniences? How do you look at that from like your own point of view? Like you said, like your car broke down, got a flat tire, or the dog shit in the living room, or all these little things that we're just bombarded with every day. And I mean, a lot of people can just kind of coast through it and be like, whatever. But then you have people that it makes all the difference in the world when something like that happens. So how do you deal with that yourself?
Outstanding question. Months and months and months ago, this place is littered with amazing sticky notes. And months and months ago, I wrote that down.
Slow down.
This one sticky note that is right here, very, very prevalent, has changed the things that you're talking about. So I actually don't encounter them. And definitely not as much and with as much frequency, because those are usually indicators that you're moving too quickly, that things are at an unbalanced pace or something like that. And it gives you this pattern interruption. It just gives you a snap out of reality and just says, hey, just focus, take a minute and snap to it. I feel that this is what Mercury retrogrades are now. I really see them as this innate pause for the high vibrational beings who just kind of just go, oh, okay, so we're just going to slow down, tiptoe through this bitch. It's like the school zone for the universe is sort of how I feel with it. And it's just one of these things. So, but by approaching things so nonchalantly for most of my life, like I said, it's been 1 or 2 things on that list, and it's been those 1 or 2 things for years, and it's really been, it was stuck there is what I will say. It's absolutely clear now, and I fucking feel great. But there things as far as approaching challenges and stuff like that, I've naturally been this boundless optimist, dude. If I fall down the stairs, it's I didn't fall down the stairs. It's you got down the stairs super fast. And 1 step forward and 2 steps back isn't setback. It's the cha-cha, and you just dance with the rhythm of life, and you just keep it going. Like, I have a fascinating success rate with being able to turn things positive instantly. I'm the epitome of that parent that just starts laughing when his kid falls, and they know that they're fine, and they don't want to like add drama to the fucking thing. And they're like, no, you're good. Everything's all right. It's gonna work out, buddy. And that's just how I've been. So with things like flat tires, with stuff like that, I really, again, don't encounter them. The wife had something occur with her car recently that was just $1,000. And I was just like, yeah, absolutely. We smiled and paid it. And it's one of these things to where I don't get triggered by that shit anymore. I really am in full surrender with this, to where I feel anything that's in my path right now is absolutely there for a purpose. And it's something to teach me, or it's a gift, but usually they're both. It's a gift teach moment.
And what does that tell you? That it is actually all perspective, because you do get the other side of that, where little things happen and it's automatic victim mentality, where I tripped down the stairs. No, the stairs got in my way. Or,
Stairs aren't,
my car broke down. So the car broke down. So that means it was the mechanic's fault, or, so it is all perspective. And we talk a lot about victim mentality, and it's one of the most annoying things to me, because shit just happens to people. Everybody. And to be so victim mentality on it is to be so egocentric and so self-centered that you're thinking everybody's out to get you and everything's against me, and I just have the worst luck because all this shit happens to me. And if you look around, you're like, no, all that shit happens to literally everybody. Just deal with it like like an adult. We're talking about like younger kids these days, because I'm an old man and I say things like kids these days.
Oh, it's not just kids though. Come on. I know so many adults that have the victim mentality. People older than me.
Biden supporters.
But no, stop. I'm not even generalizing it like that. Just people in general that are just broken and have other things that are so messed up in their own lives that they have to fix before they're even going to be able to come to a place where falling down the stairs won't be a big deal for them.
Well, yeah, and
There's-
the other thing about that, sorry, Ben, the other thing about that is that there are people that do have pretty lopsided luck and they've been dealt a shit hand. But I know plenty of those people who are the most positive, happy people in the world. So
And
if you look at
strong.
somebody who looks at their shitty life like that and you compare your life, which you shouldn't do anyway, but if you're actually looking at the shit that happens compared to this dude who's super happy and positive all the time and turns everything into a positive, then you start kind of looking at yourself and you're like, well, what the fuck is my problem? Ben, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was going to say Jordan Peterson's breakdown of that was that the reason why you are seeing it more and more is because it used to be that you purposely chose what was hard rather than what was easy. The victim mentality is very attractive. It's very attractive because it puts the situation that you're in on something else. It's blame placing. All you're doing is you're taking away the core of the problem. And maybe it was something in the past. Like everybody's like, well, this isn't a direct consequence of an action. It's like, no, but choices led you to where you are in life. Now, this ends up crossing into self-deprecation. It ends up getting into a place where it's like, I'm retarded. I did this way back when, and now I'm here. And it's like, you can't do that either because everybody
Unless
is
it's
going
for comedy.
well, yeah, but and in which case you deserve a queef. But everybody does. Everybody does that. They're always comparing. Joe, you just said that, like, you shouldn't be doing that shit. You're absolutely right. At the same time, it does give you a frame of reference, and depending on the lens that you look through that frame of reference in, will do everything for your life as to whether or not you are seeing the problems you have as a challenge. And then when you get through it, you feel awesome. It's like when you're learning a sport and you see somebody else who's better than you have a frame of reference for how to get better. And if you challenge yourself to achieve that, when you do, you feel better about it. Yeah, the work sucked, but at the same time, you achieved that goal. If every problem that comes in your life, you look at it as a challenge, because let's be honest, you're going to wake up another day, knock on wood.
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time, yeah, you're gonna wake up another day, and if you haven't done shit about it, or you're just wallowing, you're not doing anything for your fucking self. But it is attractive because it's fucking easy. It's easy to look at it and go, well, that's not my fault.
That is the balancing
me.
act too. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the balancing act, is between blaming everyone else and blaming yourself for everything. And there's people on
Right.
both sides of that.
Oh, yeah.
I as far as comparing yourself, why not compare yourself to an earlier version of you and see how far you've come? Or when you think about, like, if your anxiety about my car is going to break down, it's going to be $3,000 or whatever. Think about the last time that happened. If you're old enough, it's probably happened several times. What happened? You are here today, right? And that's no longer a problem.
I was just going to say
So-
that. Think about the worst case scenario, the real worst case scenario. How bad will it actually be?
Do that.
Probably not that bad. And if you already are prepared for the worst possible scenario, not like focusing on it and hyper worrying about it, just running through scenarios in your head of like, this could be bad, like this, and this. All right, I'm mentally prepared for all those now. So if one of them happens, at the very least, I won't be surprised. That's all I do. Expound, Brandon. Go ahead. Look at I see the gears a turning.
Okay. So what this is at its core, and I'm so glad you guys did this. This is so beautiful. I just love the way the universe works. I love all of this. Okay. What I feel is occurring, and you nailed it with the perception element to this, because it's 100% perception, and it's perfect. If you want to dip into the freaky woo-woo, Dolores Cannon stated it that our entire job here is to learn how to manipulate energy. And what that meant to me is alchemizing anything in my path to turn it into what I want. We're the deliberate creators here. You either are or you aren't. You either subscribe to this or you don't. It's very clear now that the deck had been stacked against us previously for our ability to come to understandings as this in the amount of folks that we are now has a lot to do with the technology, the connectivity that we have. But what it's allowed us to do is to share different alchemizing techniques, which is what we're talking about here. If you, again, view the setbacks in life as you're an arrow in a bow being pulled back, and really what it is that stagnation, that tension, that is you fucking getting ready to absolutely soar. If you can picture and weather those times, and not even weather, fucking thrive and dance through them, knowing that this is what's occurring, and all you do in that time is hold your aim so that you launch to the fucking exact place you want, That's alchemy. Like through all of that, it's not allowing the things while you're holding your aim that blow in your ear and tap on your shoulder and yell at you and say you should be voting this way or be scared of this. As long as you're not focused on any of that shit, you will absolutely get there. And what that is absolute alchemy. But it's a muscle that you flex, but you can do it all the time because you're constantly presented with moments to be a greater, grander version of yourself. In my mind, that's a quote from Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh. But what that means is that you're constantly presented with opportunities to alchemize and to change situations into what you want. Another thing from him is that you are only in the room to heal the room. The only reason you're in the room is to heal the room. You're only in the room to heal the room. The only reason you're in the room is to heal the room. I say it like that because it's very important to kind of wrap your mind around that, because that's when you step into the concept that we're all one, or rather it's true or not, you can view it this way, which again, your perception dictates your reality. So when you start looking at all the folks out there, NPCs or not, it doesn't matter, then you start looking at everything out there as you, then you change the way you interface with things. You just naturally do, and it's you're rewriting neurons. You're changing your chemistry. You're changing what excites you and lights you up. It's not the fucking gory shit. I've never been attracted to that. It's not the drama and the politics and the gossip. I've never been attracted to that. My chemical signatures are not wired that way, which is all this is. It's just, and again, going through, I'm going to shout it out. Got it right here in my bag. That right there. Highly recommend, guys.
For the audio listeners, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
It details, how your mind really processes information, what the chemical signals are, all of these things, and it really breaks it down in an awesome fashion. Now, it ties together, and because then with this knowledge, you can go, oh, wow, it's simpler than that. It's not just giving up. It's handing it over to a more intelligent part of you that has a better vantage point. The things I said earlier, that's offering your challenge to a new solution, right? Not solving a problem with the same intelligence or consciousness rather that was used to create it, that Einstein quote. And so you're really stepping out of your paradigm in this, and that's the whole fucking thing here, is to alchemize. And so when we talk about that, what little things like this are little perceptive things that y'all said throughout this entire conversation that were dripped in with absolute fluidity because they're just that way. And I'm going to point some out to y'all. So happening to you, not for you, is the way that I look at it. It's happening for me every damn time. To you is the way that people will approach it, and that has an energy to it, right? Everything is greeted with two things. And so even in those language patterns, those neurolinguistic things, that speech, remember abracadabra, as I speak, I create. So if they're happening for you, it's absolutely true, and you will view them and alchemize them as such and get the gifts that are in the pile of shit that's there, but you'll dig through it with joy. And most of the time, it's not shit anymore. It's just fascinating. Another one is always. People always. And it's interesting whenever, yes, we look out at what from my perception looks to be all these other unhealed versions of us doing the best they can with the information that they have. And with that comes, the love and the grace and all of those things. But then what I've come to with this, and why I'm grateful that you guys brought all this up, is I'm to the point now, and actually I've been doing this for a little bit with success, which is why I'm to the point now, it's where I could say I have success with this with a couple of months of practice. I've written new scripts for the people in my life. Have we talked about this on here? Because I don't want to repeat something. Okay.
No, I don't think so. No.
What I found out with something months and months ago were the things I didn't like about my wife, let's say, and I started with her, and God bless her for being this example, but we're on the other side of this, so I can tell you with confidence she's grateful for it. I used to write scripts for my wife constantly based off of old patterns that I was a vibrational match for, meaning little fucking nitpicky shit, like partnership things and all of these things, right? And they were little, but they added up and they really weighed on me and all of those things. But one day I thought, well, if we're manifesting, if we're creating our reality or whatever, I'm constantly creating that version of that woman. What's more is I reached a vibrational level to where I realized that I was creating her from a vibrational level of my past. So what I did was I just sat down and wrote a new script for my wife. The next fucking day, I said, she's a wonderful partner. She does all these things. All the things that were feelings I had to the contrary, I alchemized, sat there, wrote them down. The next fucking morning, wake up, different woman. The partner I had scripted out the night before. Now, I pointed
Jump
this out.
dimensions. That's what we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. But this is scalable, and we're gonna come to this. So Mary and I, that's my wife, my beautiful goddess wife, we talked about this and I told her about this, she started applying it in her own life. And oh my God, now we had a combined opportunity to be greater, grander versions of ourselves. Because not only are we doing this independently as Brandon and Mary, but also we're doing it as Brandon and Mary, as the entity that is this married couple that's done this many times in many lifetimes. But it's a Voltron of sorts. You know, now we're a binary star system. It's not one solo crusader out there just working on himself with no restrictions or whatever. It's a team thing. And when we're stagnant, we're both, right? So with that then came this perception of, oh, we have a thing in her mother-in-law. And this was a thing. Mother-in-laws, if you're married, you understand this, perhaps, maybe you don't. There's a challenge there. Now, we both experienced the challenge. But what we did is that we started writing her a new script. We said, you know, when she would call, we would get the eye roll, but we caught the eye roll. I would say, every time your mom calls, we go, oh, what the fuck? What the fuck now? But perhaps we were anthropomorphizing that. And so what we did was we changed the script. And maybe the way that I viewed it, again, because all the pieces out here are me, one of the perceptions I have that I'm pretty proud of, pretty attached to that idea, is that, like, whenever we were doing that, it's her on the other end, perhaps of a simulation, perhaps as another version of us in a quantum realm of instant entanglement, something like that. But she was reading the vibe of our script as we were rolling our eyes, not answering the phone. As it's ringing, she's reading it and going over it with the Matrix too. And she's going, oh, fuck, they're still going to want me to, okay, I guess I'll show up as this person. I guess I'll be this catastrophe. I guess I'll have this drama. And I guess this will participate. And I'll just keep playing this character because they keep casting this script for me in their experience. So we wrote her a new script. We said, dude, she's crushing. She's doing awesome. Everything's going great for her. Every time she called, we sent her love. We sent her consciousness all the time. A couple weeks later, she left this super fucking toxic relationship and ended up going down to Peru for 2 weeks to do ayahuasca at Carlos Tanner's place. So what I'm saying here is, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I mean this to the biggest scale possible. So when I talk about the world, I'm never saying the word always or people are doing or this is how it is, because that is solidifying it in my understanding of the way that reality works. Now, what I've done contrary to that actually is seen that, alchemized it, and said, actually, everybody's doing the best they can with the information they have at the time. Every fucking morning, I'm a man of rituals. Every morning, I have a 3-hour process. It involves reading, journaling, working out, working on myself, and walking outside in nature. That's the last bit of it. So it's sun's up, you know, things are happening or whatever. In that walk, it's barefoot in the labyrinth that we have back here. It's about 1,300 steps in and out, but I walk it 3 times. In the middle of it, there's a central point with a circle. And what we do is I go around that circle and to each cardinal direction, thank them for their expansion of consciousness and receive their blessings and send them ours in return, as well as all those above and below. So what I'm doing is giving people the power from my perspective that they are doing the best they can with the information they have at the time. No one in my reality is eye-rolling pain in the ass to me anymore. No one. And so again, this has changed my perception of even the bad guy idea, these Klaus Schwabs and things, that it would be easy for us to all agree that that's a douchebag and that's a lizard turd. And we throw the lizard turd thing around affectionately, of course. But again, it's from Charlie Robinson's standpoint of a conspiracy analyst versus conspiracy theorist. The dude, like, it's absolutely what's happening and it's defined my reality for now and nothing else matters. Fuck you, kid, go away. We're not looking at waterfalls or going fishing. I've got to do this, you know? And that is where I feel the alchemy is at its most necessary. That's where the real pause and that real introspection, but it's only through gaining a better relationship with yourself can you even begin to do any of these things. And that's where it all started for me. But this writing of new scripts thing, that people are always doing the best they can with the information they have at the time, wishing them consciousness no matter what. Something happens, well, that's just what consciousness does. Somebody cuts you off, that's what consciousness does. You know what? I wish you consciousness, brother. Be safe. Don't hurt anybody on your way home. We know you got a lot on your mind. Take it easy. The difference is it's got nothing to fucking do with that person. That's an NPC for all you fucking know. It's your shit. Always your shit. So it's whatever's interfacing with you. And this is one of the biggest techniques, if you want to call it that, modalities, is to not be affected at all. Not rocked off your shit by anything external. And that's where that mastery shit comes in. That's, you master this, that's it. Everything.
That's kind of what I was saying earlier too about that's pretty Buddhist, the non-attachment, non-reactivity type of thing. And I always loved that, but then you do react and you're like, fuck that, that's a bad Joe. You don't do that. What the fuck? And then you beat yourself up because you reacted. And it's like, okay, no, you can't be reactive to your own stupid shit that you did either. Roll on, keep rolling, be like water.
The process. You have to set
Part of-
boundaries with yourself too.
Yes.
You have to set your own boundaries. Like, okay, I'm going to be okay with this. Or, hey, if I do this, maybe I'll have to do this. I'll have to work on this a little harder. But make sure you're not going to get to a place where you're setting yourself up for failure, I guess is my point. And I'm not great at this either. I've been trying to work on this very, very recently, just like you, Brandon, in my work, especially, where I kind of get walked on all over the place. I just am one of those doormat people, like, I'll do anything, it's okay. But then I harbor resentment, and I don't mean to. It's totally internal. I don't take it out on my family members, but it makes me dislike certain things that happen at work, and it makes me have a certain outlook on my job. So when I have just in the last couple of weeks, I've just been saying like, hey, you know what? I'm not doing this today. Or like, hey, this is just how it is. It's the mortgage industry. I've said it a million times. People get real pushy and very angry. And when something's out of my control, I used to blame myself.
Yeah, it's like they're buying a house or something.
Yeah, it's a big
crazy.
deal, but it's not my fucking fault.
It's
Like-
the biggest, most emotional purchase of their life.
Sure, but like if it's something that's completely out of my control, which it almost every single time is, I have typically in the past gotten really upset, really stressed out, and then it makes me hate my job, and then it makes me stressed around my coworkers. So I've just been saying, I'm not going to say sorry for anything that's not my fault anymore. I'm going to be helpful and kind, but I'm not apologizing. And I'm going to take whatever comes at me and just give kindness right back, and also give truth right back. Like, hey, can we close in 2 days? No, we sure can't. And I know perfectly well that my words will not land kindly to them, but I will say it in the best way that I can and let them know the facts, and then know that no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. And if people just start there, like, and that's just a dumb example, but if you're in a place where you're like, what are you guys even talking about? And you're working wherever you're working and it's super stressful, start there. Start setting boundaries that are little. Like, hey, you know what? I'm going to stop saying sorry when I'm really sick and I can't come into work, or if I have to take a vacation, but they're really busy, but I deserve a vacation. Like, it's okay. You don't have to be sorry for those things. Don't be sorry for things that are completely out of your control. And then just be confident in the things that you are doing.
So I love
It goes a long way.
Well, before Brandon can respond to this, I'm going to cut in. I love what you said about the kindness and truth thing. So that's also a matter of perspective, because you can try to be kind and say true things, and it will come across as not kind at fucking all. But you knew it was true, so you said it anyway with kindness. Whether it comes across like that or not doesn't matter as much as the fact that that was probably the kindest thing you could do, is tell the truth. Whether they realize it at that point or not, that would be the kindest thing you could do, is to tell the truth.
It's all
So
you can do. And you have to have confidence as well. And that's why I'm saying take little steps if you're not at a place where you know what any of this is. You have to have the confidence in these little things. Like, I know that none of this is my fault. I'm going to stop feeling bad for things that aren't my fault. So a lot of people do that. That's a really, really big deal in our society. People are sorry for things and feel bad for things and get stressed about things that are 100% out of their control. I see it all the time. And we just have to start there, though. It's very easy because it's very small.
Ooh. You know just the words to say, don't you? Sorry. Okay, that's the only time I'm going to say that word, by the way. As an example, right? To be funny. That word to me has done the most damage psychologically to our entire society. And here's why. If we follow the NLP, or the neurolinguistic programming aspect of this, meaning that as you speak, you create, what you say literally affects the reality, and what's more, your body, meaning every cell in your body. If you think of yourself rather than just your body, which you're not at all, you're not your body, you're not your thoughts, you're not these things. It's a fascinating concept, again, to just detach from all of this idea and realize that perhaps this is just a vehicle, and that perhaps this vehicle isn't even what you see on the surface. We all know, and seen in textbooks and stuff, like little cells and shit, but really you're a collection of like 75 trillion complex cell interactions and like ecosystems and all sorts of crazy, amazing things. And they all respond in unison, in symphony. You are the god of this vehicle, of all of those creatures in you. They respond constantly to what you feel, not what you think, not what you, anything like that. Now, what you say reverberates and has a vibration. This has to do with the voice. This has to do with sound. This has to do with the sacred elements of cymatics and of frequency. And whenever you do this and incorporate sound into something, this is also why it's important to write things in your own handwriting if you're repeating them, as well as repeat them, but out loud. You know, the 3 stages, right? Write, read in your head, read out loud. And that speaking component to it is the most important. Writing it assures that what you're doing is exactly what you want. You have time to edit, right? Before it makes it to the fucking making it happen. Now, when you say it in your head as well, you're rehearsing for the making it happen without actually putting it into action and speaking it into existence and reality. Now, when it's hit making it happen, your mouth, this fucking pie hole here, that is creation. Right here is the tip of creation. This is where it happens. And if you look at it like this, then everything you say that affects every cell in your body, the Nakamoto work, right, with the water studies, the hate and there's so much research on this, and how much percentage of water are you, and how does it affect you to speak that way? And this is why we have the Queefus self-deprecation on there. It's so important that whenever I hear somebody say the S word, that to me tells every cell in your body that you are that you're pathetic, that you're not worth it, that you should feel that way and be in subservience. That's a vibration. It's not a word, it's a vibration. Now, if you apologize for an obvious accident, which is nothing inconveniencing of anyone or anything like that, a bump into someone, whatever, oh, hey, we're dancing. You know, there's many ways to alchemize those situations rather than dropping the S-bomb, because it drops into something and we all feel it. Look around you now that you have heard this. This is a choice point, as we call it. Look around now, and whenever it will light up around your world like something insane how many times you hear this and how many people say it and how, and it dips you into this bullshit, not you fucking take my confidence away from me thing. And it's not what you mean to say. It's what we've been programmed to say. And we've been programmed to oversay the shit out of it because it's such a reliable way to keep you fucking stuck and feeling that way, literally. So whenever, and something to what you said also, Jen, I wanted to say is that no is a fucking complete sentence. No is a complete sentence. You drop a no and then you stop. Especially in sales, marketing, anything like that, you make your pitch, say it, stop. The next person that speaks owns it, right? That's an old sales tactic, right? It is very complete. And any sort of challenges they have with that can be addressed with them as they verbalize it, up until the point that you remind them again with a simple no, because no is a complete sentence. And then you let them sit with it and you let them have the tantrums. Now,
And that's why no pisses so many people off, is because it is complete and an end.
It's just really hard though in my job, just real quick. I'm not trying to cut you off. If I say just no, I will have so many emails back. So I try to say no. Here's my answer though. Like it's very concise though. It's not like a long explanation. It's not apologetic. It's just no, like, no, that's not true. And then I try to anticipate what I've never been incorrect about what I know they're going to ask, because we're already in a conversation. So it's not like it's a guessing game, but I just say, no, it's this. And it's very short, non-apologetic. And then I wait for their response. And I've gotten really great results, but keep going.
No, yeah. And then, so that's it. What the no is a complete sentence does is it gives you the confidence to know that, but diplomatically, you may want to offer additional information, but you're going to keep it short. It's like a jazz thing, right? Jazz, the whole thing about it, jazz music, it's not when there's more to add, it's when there's nothing more to take away. So it's that element of just very simplistic speech that's very direct and not not contradictory to what you feel, excuse me. So to this again, the alchemy of words, the way that you feel about it, like this is huge cellular level regeneration. You're rewriting neurons, you're breaking old neural paths, and you're saying, I'm breaking the habit of my old self, and I'm very ready to step into this new one. And it's these things, it's starting with speech, it's recognizing those. Huge. Trying is another one. You're not a triceratops, you're a do-ceratops. You're either fucking doing it or you're not. It's those little things like that that are in there, and they're in constant speech, and it's the ones that are repeated so often. I feel sentences now, which is fucking weird. Have you guys experienced this talking to so many people? You can feel the vibe in a guest change whenever they say certain words or when they get to a point.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's like changing the channel, or like the color changes or something.
Yes.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's the best fucking way to describe it, a color change. That's a beautiful way because it's a monochrome like shock. It's where was the person I was just talking to? Like what happened? Now, what's interesting is if you pay attention to what the thread of thought is, you'll find the triggers, and you'll find like this being this mirror to. So we talk to people so much that you'll see this. you'll find that that is where it lies for them. And there was actually something, a guest got to a point, we'd already signed off and shit, it was fine. We just kind of were talking and hanging out and stuff like that. And it got to a point where we were talking, and all of a sudden she said, yeah, and everything's just, and it's this incredibly high vibe thing. And then she goes, yeah, but these followers, and oh my God, these people out here, and all this. And I felt this heaviness and this energy, and I just stopped her. I go, holy I go, where the fuck did you go? You were just here, and then you started talking about this one thing, and then now you drifted off into some way off dimension. I felt the energy change. She goes, yeah, it's because of this. And it's when she started talking about it, you could feel it was more of a revealing of vulnerability and triggers and stuff. And so, but to feel it, to see it that clear, it was something that I've been talking to other content creators about. And I was curious if you, because of, you know, how many goddamn conversations we've had with different types of people, it's interesting to sort of pick those things out of conversations. But I think the energy component to it's what makes you all like great hosts. You know what I mean? Because you can read it, you can feel it.
It doesn't happen on our show very often, but we just talked about this, yesterday?
Probably.
The day before, on just a whatever random topic about how in any community, I'll be broad about it, in any community, when there's a certain negative thing that happens, especially if it's like something that a lot of people could possibly relate to, it seems like they flock to the negativity. Like they're very drawn to it. And I don't want to shit on my fellow men and women out there. I'm not trying to be mean and say, hey, you guys all suck and you guys are really negative all the time. But it seems like it's very easy for a lot of people to do that. So what Joe and I do, though, typically is we ignore it. We're like, okay, well, whatever. Like, we're not even going to play along, and we just pretend it's not happening and change the subject.
Non-engagement, I like to call it.
And it typically works very, very well. Yeah. There's no like, we don't even go in and say like, hey, you guys are being assholes right now. You know, there's not even that.
Yeah, don't water that flower. Nature will
But it's something that I have noticed that you can tell that people are like, they're drawn to it. So it's very important, like you've been saying, to be able to rewrite those scripts for people and yourself and say, hey, you know what? I'm stepping out of this. I'm going to help you step out of this by thinking better of you and for you in the future.
And it comes back to, like, we've talked about this a lot too, is the idea of psychic vampirism. And as much as that sounds, I mean, half the shit we talk about sounds fucking stupid, but if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. And there are people like that who will literally suck the life out of you with whatever negativity they have. And people have a problem, you know, not, I don't know. It's hard to do, especially if it's family and friends, to not engage with it and to just like, no, I'm not doing that. And so I don't know. I don't really have the answers for that at all, but it's at least if you notice it, maybe you'll come up with your own course of action.
Script is really helpful. We have a friend that I know Joe is like directly referring to, that when she would come over, it would just be like, and this was like a while ago, but it would just be like negative conversation after negative conversation. I would just sit there and be like,
feel drained afterwards.
Like, let's go jump in the pool and float. And I'd like try to change the subject, but also not try to push her off. I wouldn't be like, hey, I'm going to go inside and do anything else for the next however long this is going to happen.
Until you leave, probably.
Because I can't be rude. So I was like, I don't want to talk about this anymore, but it's hard to say that too. So you have to kind of delicately, but so rewriting the script, I think, is very helpful, I guess, is my point, because I tried to do multiple different things. It just didn't work.
Well, I wanted to ask you too more about the NLP stuff. And for people who aren't familiar with neuro-linguistic programming, there's tons of resources online, and I'm not smart enough to explain it. But what do you think about the people who would say that that's just the placebo effect, like what you were talking about, where you hear it, you write it down, you speak it, or you know the queef of self-deprecation, that kind of thing. And my thing with placebo is that, did it work though? If it works, then what are you talking about? Oh, it's just a placebo effect. Okay, but it fucking still worked. So there's something to that then, right? I mean, something happened because you were rewriting your own script or whatever.
Keyword effect. If it's a placebo effect, then
it's an effect.
Effect
Sounds
of
effective.
the placebo.
Effective, right, Jen? The placebo is actually an interesting one, because it was so successful in telling people that they didn't need their bullshit that they had to stop including them in studies. They actually have a control group now. It's very rare, if at all, to see a placebo study at all. And if it is, how can you trust what they're saying? Because again, they've been found to be so dangerous to pharmaceutical industries. And this is why like they'll write off a bunch, like yes, 9 out of 10 doctors, but you know how many doctors they had to talk to that told them to go fuck themselves before they got to 9, right? And so it's one of these things to where if they can apprehend the idea that it's bullshit, then just they can perception manage anything. Or let me say this, they have the ability to fool you for a little bit, but even those things are what I call temporary truths. Okay, I've really gotten into this thing to where anything you know, anything is only a temporary truth. And when you can really look at things like that, you can say, holy shit, this frees me from all of this extra baggage, all these beliefs, the B word, that's a cuss word to me as well. This is another neurolinguistic programming thing. And when you can drop into those levels of really, like I said, looking at the examples of things, you have countless examples. I'm going to get to RAS in a second, but you have placebo effect, you have the double slit experiment, that you have, again, the reticular activating system, or your RAS. And these things all tell us that your reality is completely fucking made up by you, and that whatever you feel is going on is going on. The real trick here, and the triggers of everybody out here, I hear one or two of you just going, bullshit, then those are your triggers. Those are the programs saying, hey, that's the Mr. Smith reaching in and going, hey, remember, like, we don't believe this is absolute bullshit.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. He's going, Mr. Listening to this fucking guy. You don't want to listen to this fucking guy, and here's why. And you have examples of this, and I'll point you to a bunch of examples of this, and that brings me to your RAS. Your RAS, or reticular activating system, has 4 primary functions. It's a bundle of nerves just up in your brain there. And what it's 4 functions like sleep and all these kinds of things, but what melatonin production or whatever. But the one I really enjoy, the one that also why RAS is in my list with placebo and double slit for proving your reality is absolute bullshit, or that you have control over it. Let me absolutely put it that way. Is that the part of your reticular activating system that interests me is the part of perception. Now, the medical definition for this is that the reticular activating system, when it comes to perception, filters out useless information as to highlight or present useful information. Now, what do y'all hear about that sentence that may sound alarming to you? Anything stand out? That your reticular activating system filters out useless information as to present useful information.
That it's filtering out anything in general that we're looking at is pretty terrifying.
I was going to say that maybe you can't trust it.
Ben?
Say it one more time.
It's that its job is to filter out from your reality, filter out useless information as to present to you useful information.
It sounds just like a CPU. It sounds like like you're in a simulation.
Well, who's deciding what's useful and useless?
That one. There it is, Jen. Thank you. That's where I'm at with this. Is useful and useless are subjective. Now, what determines that is your paradigm, to answer your question. Your paradigm is your beliefs and experiences. So here we are back to that B word. Now, tying it back into neurolinguistic programming, I would comment on beliefs, the word beliefs, as I would the S word, meaning that it anchors you to something that you are now attached to, a bunch of energies that you don't fucking fully understand, that are attached to an idea that you must subscribe to all of, or, unless you're mindfully picking and choosing, there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of things that you're unaware of within even a church that you're walking through, things like that. Now, this is where, again, the beliefs word just murders me. In 1999, Kevin Smith came out with a film called Dogma. And I know I've talked about this a ton, but
Love it.
Rufus, the character played by Chris Rock, says on the train to the effect of, I don't have beliefs, I have ideas, because ideas are easier to change. And holy shit, when you get to that point, this is where you're able to write new scripts, because now you're able to say, well, I had a belief that my mother-in-law was always going to be this way, and so therefore she was. Now, if I wrote a new script, that means I have an idea that perhaps the belief was flawed in a way, and maybe I only was carrying that around because it was just something I hadn't observed from my current understanding and awareness, which taking inventory on those past beliefs is very important. And then maybe even rewriting them and downgrading them to ideas and freeing yourself from the anchors that you're unaware, you've even signed up for, like the contracts Brandon Williams talking about. So with your reticular activating system, what's fascinating about this, again, is that it only presents useless, or hides useless information. Your nose is an example of this, by the way. If you think about it right now, you can see the tip of your nose. But your reticular activating system filters it out because it considers it useless in your environment. It says, no, you don't need it. Yes, it's there. Obviously, it's there and it's observable and you can see it if you focus on it, but you don't need it. It's your processing brain power and taking away from your forward vision, which is where all the shit's going on. That's what you need to be looking at. So your mind does this with everything that you input into it, like a CPU. It stores it, but it only plays the programs that were run it. Now, if you're in a filtered program of things happen to me, that's the only fucking thing your RAS will look at, is things that are happening to you. They will look at them that way. They will present those things to you, and that's all that will appear in your life. Now, when you change this and you say things are happening for me, your RAS, your reticular activating system, after a time, there's an echo. It's about 21 days, about 30 days to really stay committed to this. And it's simple. We can give some good examples if you'd like, some tips to flip that. And that's fucking alchemy. That is alchemy. This is where you say what's useful to me are things that are actually useful. And what's useless to me is the hate, is the anger, is the fear-based shit. That's useless information to me. And therefore, your reticular activating system doesn't even fucking see it. It's not in your world. It does not exist. Now we're talking dimension shifting, dude. That's what this shit is.
Well, let's get into that. How you would, I mean, we can close out here pretty soon. I know Ben's got to get going, but to close out on a positive, helpful note, like to me, the first thing that would help somebody with that would be to fucking realize it in the first place. And it sounds like a AA 12-step thing, but like literally you can't do this without realizing there's, I wouldn't say a problem, we'll call it a challenge. Without even realizing that that's there, you're never gonna. And that to me would be more of an NPC. There's something up here they're not even acknowledging or realizing or knowing it's there. So how the fuck are they gonna ever break out because they don't know it's there? So once you realize it's there,
ironclad firewall. Yeah.
once you realize it's there, then you can do something about it and go from there.
They're barely the chimps that can look at themselves in the mirror and become self-aware. Like it's just this shy of, like, if you have no fucking desire for growth, that's alarming to me. And now again, my RAS is not, I don't have people like that in my life. I just don't. I'm a magnet for incredible people, and because I've decided to be so. And so I only have that. I've really rewritten the script. And now if you're in my experience, then you are absolutely there for a purpose. And I know this. I have a vibrational threshold that I've set. To that, that's the answer, is that's what you do. You decide. What I found for me, and this is in a really dark time for me, I think I've talked about the Thought Ninja on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is Thought Ninja was a very crucial part of that because it allowed me to watch my thoughts from an observer position. In my little Thought Ninja, I would say, all right, buddy, here's where we are. You're a bouncer for my thoughts. These things do not get in. That was first step. Now, with that, I was really able to figure out how I thought. This was huge. This was huge, 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 huge. The noise and all the shit is there so that you don't realize that you are fucking yourself over by the stream of thoughts that you are constantly choosing to engage in. I have a mantra. I am exclusively focused on thoughts with love, and positive forward momentum. This one's very important to me. Came to me the other day while walking in the labyrinth over there because in stagnancy, momentum is like the thing you crave the most. Just fucking get me moving, get the wheels moving, get me out of this quicksand, right? And with that comes this idea of thoughts. Now, the thoughts are what got you there. I can tell you unequivocally from my experience, every goddamn thing that you experience is the way your mind works. Now, you've been presented with opportunities without your awareness of how to change that constantly throughout your life. But again, don't be disheartened by this because you couldn't have before if you're just coming to this understanding now, because that's the way this place works. It was all necessary to get you to this point because whatever was back in your story that you needed to learn, that means you're not an NPC and that you're actually here to do some damn good. And that's why you had sort of a rough go. But we're all here with you and you're not alone and all that good shit. But what I will say to that is moving forward, it's up to you. And it's your job to get a hold of your fucking mind. That is the only thing that I can absolutely say. Have a motto with yourself. Do no harm, but take no shit. There is an element of kindness that you need with this. There's not a stubborn well, fuck you, little guy. Now, I got to that point after a lot of fucking way too much kind of. I was to a point to where I let myself get taken on that. That was but it took a while to get there, and I could see why it did. And it's perfect and beautiful. And again, I get it. But again, get fucking grab around your fucking mind, because that's what they're after constantly. That's what they out there, that if you choose to focus on it, if you look, that's all it is. It's energy. It's got nothing to do with your money. It's got nothing to do with anything other than to keep you scared and to keep this cortisol floating and these cytokine storms going and to keep you dependent on blah, blah, blah. And what it is it's noisy. It's fucking noisy and it's loud and it's annoying and it's boring, if anything else. It's just fucking boring, man. So get control over your mind. Really go within. Like I said, I've got a beautiful practice in the morning. I actually do some coaching with folks. So if that's something you're interested in, we can sit down I do an hourly thing, and you can just reach out for me on my website for that, expandingrealitypodcast.com. But I can share with you my morning routines, the things that got me here. It's been a lot, but and it's a growing process. It's not like I'm like, oh, I fucking figured it out. I'd never be foolish enough to say that shit. But I will say that I've acquired quite a few skills, and I'm incredibly grateful to approach anything in the future. Like, it feels like I've really
You're just
done
sharing
all
what you
these
learn.
side
No
quests.
problem with that.
Yeah. And so I've gone on all these side quests to get these fucking skills, and now it's like useful. You know what I mean? I got the bow and arrow that won't let me take shit, and I got the other thing that tells me that no is a complete sentence. And I'm fine with, that I understand that you're training people how to treat you and to really set boundaries early on. You know what I mean? So I've gotten all those great lessons from whatever lifetimes and whatever shit, this one has provided, and I'm grateful for all of it. It's all
Well,
happened.
Hell
what you're
yeah. So,
describing with getting a hold of your own brain is what we talk about a lot, is the self-responsibility thing that nobody seems to want to acknowledge. And that's it.
Catching you. I'm catching you because I love you. Everyone's acknowledging it because we're writing new scripts. Everyone acknowledges this now. We all get it. We're all absolutely doing the best we can with the information at we time, including not assuming that nobody ever gets it anymore, because that was an old paradigm. That was when we started this show thing. We're way past that. We've learned so much since then. So they're doing great. They're always with it now.
I agree. Okay. So I love that you said that too, about getting a hold of your own mind, because I've talked about this with Joe. I don't think we've talked about it on the show. It's kind of woo woo and weird, but I'm like, okay, we're born into this world and we're just a soul, but we come into this avatar, right? And we have this brain, and we're told our whole lives our brain is so important and it's so great and it does everything. I do think it does great things, but I don't think it's where our core thoughts come from. I think that comes from our soul, but our brain filters them out, and we have the opportunity we don't have to separate it, but we have to use our soul to harness our brain. I know I'm getting real weird here, but
Let's do
I don't
it.
think our brain is telling us what we should actually do. We know deep down what we should do, but there's outside forces that can interact with our brain. And then it's up to us as a soul on this earth, on this plane, or whatever realm you want to call it, to have discernment and see like, hey, this isn't an actual real thing. This doesn't really affect me. I can actually take this brain and I can make it do anything I want. And I'm not saying, you can fly or whatever. Maybe you can, I'm not sure, but you can absolutely harness your energy and your interactions and your feelings and your emotions. You can change that in 2 seconds. I think it's 100% possible. It might seem daunting, but I just think that our soul has control over our brain, and we're not ever taught
Right.
about that, of
Let's
course.
simplify it. You may not be able to fly. Maybe you can. I don't know. But you know what you can do? Not be a cunt. That's pretty easy. I mean, once you realize it, it's pretty easy to not be a cunt or a dick. I don't want to, gender stereotype.
Well, Joe, I mean, for some people, it is literally starting on the other side of the spectrum. That whole you can't run until you walk, you can't walk until you crawl, and all that stuff. It's like for some people that they weren't taught any kind of positivity. Like Brandon said, they had a really rough go. It's like they have to let go of not being a cunt before it's possible for them to be a good person. It's like, yeah, it's just like it's like
realizing that it's possible.
Yeah, it's like learning first that being a dick isn't what you have to be. And then once you realize, oh my God, not being a dick, I have seen so much better results. It's like, yeah, but you have to replace anything that you take away, and it has to be with something. There's never been anything in your life that you take out that you aren't filling it with something else. And it's like, so what are you filling it with? Well, for a lot of people, it's doing nothing. And they replace it with doing nothing. It's like, okay, but after a while, yeah, you're not being a dick anymore and you're seeing good results. But imagine how much better the results would be if you reverse that and you were a good person. For some people, that's really, really hard, and it takes them a long time.
But if you go internally and you sit with yourself, I don't think you do have to fill it with something else. Personally, I don't think you would even care that this space existed in the first place. Like you wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, you fill it with a connection with self. You realize that the void that you were filling external was only because you lacked the internal connection that's already there to fill all of your cups, all of them. And so this external habit, because that's what it is, it's just a habit. And this is why it's important, the breaking the habit of being yourself, because it's just phrased that way, because it's just something you picked up, right? Meaning it's something you could just as easily discard. Now, depending on how long and how deep the programming and all those things, yes, it's going to solidify. There are many neural networks. There are many things that can help with this. Psychedelics, man. Michael Pollan talked about this, that, psychedelics, especially psilocybin cubensis mushrooms, that whenever the metaphor you use is like a snow hill, and as we grow up in the programming or whatever, it creates these tracks in the hill, and then if you try to form new ones, you're going to slip down in the old ones because they're so deep, the ruts, right? So what psychedelics allow you to do is add fresh powder to the hill. So it basically just covers everything. It allows a complete sort of an easier way to unwrite things that were habits that you had that you would no longer choose to carry forward. Like, they don't serve you any longer. They were there, they were fun, they were whatever they were, but now they no longer serve you. And once that decision is made, yes. Now, to the cunts and dicks, I agree with you. What, as the receiver of such cunts and dicks, I would say that hurt people, right? So if it's to a point to where there's, a systemic, obvious challenge there, and you haven't wronged them in any way, you've been doing the 4 agreements, doing your best, not making assumptions, not taking anything personally, being impeccable with your word. If you're doing these things, then you have no reason to feel that you owe them an S word, or that you need to feel that you owe them anything other than perhaps space, But then space, as Jen talked about earlier, can be taken advantage of. And so then you learn how to dial in space with boundaries. And so it's this interesting balance, and that's all this is. It's a balance, but you're constantly like pushed. You get a little nudge every now and then. And the way signs that you're off course, if you want to say, was brought to me by a dude named Jason Pickard. I had him on the show. He's great. And one thing that he said was an example of that you get a feather, a brick, and a truck. And that example was perfect, because I used to in a lot of fucking trucks, right? But then you start to see them as bricks, and they still suck, and you're like, fuck, okay, but I can do better. I can do better, And then they're feathers. And then what's even better is they float down like feathers, and then you just queef them out of your way. You just, before you even see them, and they're not even this thing. It's fascinating. But it is a choice, absolutely a choice.
We can't hear you.
I was muted again. No, what I was saying is not really like a disclaimer, but none of us are experts on this. These are just things we've learned and ideas we've come across, and we're sharing them with you. By no means are we saying we have this right. At least I'm not. I know Jen is.
Show, yeah. We're just saying, hey, start small. Here's a little idea I have, and if you guys can do it better, tell us on our Telegram or send us a message.
It's like we always say, we're sharing ideas and opinions that we've come across and conclusions we've come to. Make of that what you will. Do your own research, which is apparently against the mainstream agenda right now, is to do that. But yeah, just basically figure it out yourself. It's a self-responsibility. Get ahead of your own fucking head. I mean, you could email me too, and I'll write a masterful email back to you, no matter what you say. Trust me, I've done it. Well, Brandon, before we get out of here, where can everybody find you? I know it's expandingreality.com. Any other things you want to plug?
Just the podcast part of that. So expandingrealitypodcast.com. The Expanding Reality was taken by some person. I'm sure they're crushing it with it. Yes.
Let me write it down.
Okay. So you can check that out, expandingrealitypodcast.com. And one thing I would like to talk about is our book. We have a handbook that goes along with the show. Did I show this to you all already?
No,
I don't think so.
This is awesome.
Oh,
yes.
Well, we'll just do it. Okay.
Hold on. This was part of the news that you couldn't talk about last time that you kind of gave us a heads up of. Yeah. So this is our first time unveiling it on the show.
How wonderful. Okay. And it's 9/18 on my side, which is my birthday, by the way. Okay. That means a lot to me. Okay.
Attaboy.
So this book right here is something that I created here, and it's really for several reasons. So one of the things with this is that we founded a publishing house. This has been in my wheelhouse for a long time. So founded a publishing house. It is called Ridiginal Publishing, which means ridiculously original. And
nice.
We are into empowering and amplifying the voices and visions of ridiculously original authors. That's sort of our mission statement there. But this book that I created, all in Canva, by the way. If you're not using Canva, get your fucking life together. It's the best investment you'll ever make. And created this little guy for the show. So this is actually a handbook for Expanding Reality, the show that we do here. Expanded insight and episodic reflection. The shows we do, the type of content we produce is called episodic because you don't need one after another. And then it's volume 1, of course, because this is a folio. It's the bigger one. There'll be a 6x9 or a smaller one coming up later.
Giggity.
But as I made this thing, went through, there's a couple little just how you doings there. And then it goes into how you actually use this thing. So this is the instructions on how to use the book, which is really cool. And this just takes you through just sort of suggestions, like, go with what you feel inevitably, right? But what
Nice.
this also includes is a couple of additional pages that in between all, like there's every three episodes, which are again episodic. You can fill them in as you go. If you only like the alien ones, and cool, just do it with that. But on here also every three, there's little activity pages, I suppose, where it'll ask you like, what would you ask an alien, or what are some mysteries you like, or some places to sketch and draw, and some stuff about psychedelics, like things like that, right? So it allows you to go through some quotes from the show, of course, McKenna and Hicks, and then you launch into it, and so now you're into the book, and it's just a workbook that you can sit here and go along with the show, any episode, and it just asks expanded questions, like questions unasked. It's got a doodle there if you want to do an inspired doodle. Any notes, any takeaways, any expanded research that you'd like to do from stuff that we just drop in that you're like, oh, I got to write that down and come back to it later. Those kind of things, and you have the opportunity to do that. And then, like I said, there's just some in-between pages with some little activities and stuff. So really created this to inspire other content creators to add value for their audiences as well. And that's really what Redigital is all about, the publishing house that we founded here, is to give authors, my personal mission is to give people back to themselves. So we do this as well by empowering people to amplify their visions and voices as well. Now this same thing, yeah, it took a little bit, and it was definitely a learning experience. I'm grateful for it because it looks fucking dope, and I'm super proud of it. And through that, though, it's been an awesome thing for me, again, to inspire you guys to maybe do one of your own. Maybe you guys want to, if you're a Bigfoot show and you want to do a Bigfoot tracker, or if you're a coach, you want to have a coaching thing. If you even want to get down to little meditation journals, line things, children's books, fiction, nonfiction, we've got it all. We have several amazing projects going on. Like, I'm so grateful for this. It's just, I'm already so, like, it's already my passion project. Like, it's my baby, this publishing house, and it's so cool. So, yeah, that's one thing I'm extremely proud of. Right now, it doesn't have a website. We're going to host it through my website right now. Really, it's been about getting authors, building the infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. We haven't, like, officially launched yet, but we are absolutely taking meetings. We have, a couple of signed authors with us right now. Just signed another one last week. Another
Nice.
contract should go through next week. So things are incredible. We're hooking folks up with illustrators, and it's awesome. Like, it's just one of the coolest fucking things ever. And it makes the most sense with
Hell
the
yeah.
show, and all this stuff. So anyway, that's going great. Phi Tribe is really fucking cool. It's this musical experience. I'm the reality expander for this band that's on YouTube, and I'll drop you a link in the show description here. And also, I know we're running, but I dropped you a video in the
saw
link
that.
earlier. Did you get that?
Yes. Putting
I
it
know
in the notes now.
No, Ben needs to go, so we will not. And then also, I'm just going to give you the Phi Tribe link there to link as well. And yeah, they do just amazing music. They do, it's 432 stuff, so very deliberate healing music, and they're just one of the coolest projects, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. Their resumes are insanely cool. There's just amazing people that's actually doing really cool shit with music, like a really cool technology with this shit.
Awesome. And for the
Nice.
audio listeners, the book you were showing kind of looks like a interactive journal. It looks pretty
Yeah.
fucking cool.
Thanks.
Love
Well,
it.
give me your address, I'll send you one. I'm ordering
Oh,
more,
hell yeah.
but I'll send you one. Yeah.
I like how it's inspiring people to actually pick up a pen and use their hand and write too, instead of typing everything into their phone.
Looking at a screen all
Pretty
day, like we're doing.
Tactile. It's it's visceral. It's analog. I'm very into that, and that's why we're printing everything. Books, you will get a book. I'm big into that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think people are moving towards that too. But dude, thank you so much. It was always great to talk to you, and we will catch up with you soon. For the listeners, I mean, I guess we'll see you next time. I don't know.